Oh, whatever. Oh, I wasn't expecting the intro, but that's our
Yeah.
intro. Here we are live Saturday night. We have Cross Dog on tonight, so if you guys could kindly introduce yourselves, it's an honor tonight for me.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
go
thanks.
first. My name is Mark, and I played the bass in our band called Cross Dog.
I'm Tracy, and I'm the vocalist.
And
Mikey is frozen. He plays drums,
Oh,
plays a
there he
beat.
goes.
There you go.
hi, I don't know if I'm cutting in or out, but I'm Mikey and I play the drums in Cross.
Hey, we got her through. That was
Okay, good.
Just
So,
from out-
As
yeah.
soon as you started talking, Mark, it was like, "Hi, I'm Mark from Cross." I'm like, "Fuck."
You gotta call Kojiko and have them figure
Yeah,
it out.
no doubt.
They were just down not long ago. I think it was Kojiko or Rogers. Their whole system was down. You couldn't use
Yeah,
your phone.
Rogers.
Nothing.
Yeah, yeah, that's my network.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
So you guys, I
Mm.
must say, I've said this 100 times on the show. You guys were the last show I seen live before lockdown, man. Can you tell us a little bit about that show? Because I've
That
already
is,
told it 100 times, but it'd be nice to have other people
Oh,
confirm it for me.
thanks. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because your last show that you went to before lockdown was
Hmm.
the Newmarket show that we played at the end of 2019, I guess. It was like a holiday friends kind of show, like a bunch of our friends' bands were on the same bill. And that was actually our last show that we played as well. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
I know it's hard to talk about, eh? Like that's what a shock because you guys were actually doing quite a bit of shows at that time, or not?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had some momentum going, and it really. I mean, it feels selfish to complain about it because so many people have it so much worse.
Hmm.
But we did have a nice buildup of momentum going right when we had to stop. So it sucks, but everyone is dealing with it. So yeah.
Yeah, it was. I will say though, that show in particular is kind of a nice one to have had, like, the honor of being the last show before the world ended, because it was a really fun floor show. I remember I was just like kind of reminiscing about how we never end with a cover. Like we always pretty much end our set the same way, just because it's like it feels good for us, and it always is just like it's a good ender that we tend to end our sets with. Like it's just a good song to end the set with, and we ended up that night. We usually play Shut It Down, and that night we played a Misfits cover, which we
Oh
had never
yeah.
done. Like we just for some reason we just felt like playing a Misfits cover, and it was so much fun. And like so many of our friends and people in the crowd were like, grabbing the mic, and it was like one of those nights where you're like in the crowd. And so I just feel like what followed, which is total isolation, and that
Hmm.
it's a good memory to look back on, right?
No,
Totally.
I usually always resort back to that one because it's my last show that I did see, and I actually have some phenomenal photos. I never even thought to upload them of that night, right? Because, like you
Oh,
said, you guys were really standing in the crowd playing with us. It was phenomenal, right?
Oh, thank you.
awesome. Thanks.
That's the way we like to do it. Well, at least that's the way I like to do it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now I've got to ask your background there with all your horror movies. Are those all like DVDs and movies as well, or?
VHS, just VHS. So like entire wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a collector, this guy.
Yes.
He's got so many like random oddities and like cool shit.
Yeah, I've been
All VHS.
collecting them for all VHS. Yeah, for many years. Just anytime I'd go to a thrift shop, they'd be like $1, and I'd pick them up. Yeah,
Nice.
I
Now,
love
are
'em.
they all in any
Love that
movies,
crinkle.
or do you have them all horror movies?
No, it's kind of everything. Yeah.
Nice. We just had our buddies on from Australia last night there, and he has like the last blockbusters in his house as well. His
Oh,
are all
nice, man.
DVDs, so not VHS. So yeah, I figured
Nice.
I'd ask. It's kind of the same background. It's all his movies and stuff, right? It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I love it's just nostalgic for me. I love the VHS with that crinkly tape, and for some reason, I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
you
also
can't-
it's like it just like looks cool, like the back then, like
Yeah.
you get like the art. There's like the art on the cover essentially, right? Like it's,
Totally. Yeah, that I love that too. Being able to pick it up and hold it and look at it and geek out.
like vinyl. Same idea with vinyl, like
Yeah,
having
for sure.
like looking through, like if there's an insert, looking through that, like
Yep.
man, I could do that all day.
Yeah, especially old movies or vinyl, old records and stuff.
Yeah.
I've always appreciated the cover, and you pull it out and you read it, as you're listening to it. It's a great way to experience the music, it takes you one step deeper.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always.
These are actually.
No, go on, Mikey.
Oh no, I was gonna say these are actually all decoys. They're full of porno. Just like random covers that I have to hide.
That's a great fucking deal there.
Yeah, I wouldn't even fucking put it past you. Animal Instinct 5.
Right.
So given everything that's going on and shit, have you guys been being the punk band and being somewhat political with some of your music? Do you guys have some new shit you've been writing, or what? Like, you have to be, like, especially given the situation.
Yeah, you know what? Musically, we have a bunch of stuff written, but I think that, well, I'm speaking for you right now.
Oh yeah,
And
dude,
then
go for it. Speak
will-
for me. I'm just kidding.
So we have a lot of stuff musically written, but as far as like digging in lyrically, for me, because I write some lyrics as well. Tracy writes the majority, but for me, speaking for me, I feel like I'm not ready to write lyrics yet. It's almost like too fresh. Like the wound is too fresh. You know what I mean? So that's just me, anyways. But yeah, lots of music. Tracy, what do you have to say about that?
Well, it's not really like a huge, probably secret, at least within anyone who knows us intimately. Writing for me, especially with this band, is, I don't want to say I don't enjoy it. That's not really accurate, but it's like not exactly fun. Like it's not I don't really get pleasure from it, like as somebody who is a writer and I've written my whole life, it's not easy for me. Like I do have there's a lot of emotion that goes into like the things that I'm about, and I just, so I don't find it fun. I'm also like a bit of a perfectionist, and so like I don't want to. I'll put it this way: when a song exists as like a musical entity that these guys have put together, I tend to sometimes worry about wrecking it by not writing the thing. You know what I mean? Maybe I don't maybe I like don't hit the right topic that I wanted for that song, and I look back and I'm like, fuck, I wish I wrote about something else. Or maybe like I get a melody in my head that I like get attached to just because it like kind of earworms its way in there, but then I'm not happy with it. So I really have to be in the right place mentally to like sit down and like grunt through it, honestly. So for me, like, yeah, I kind of tend to do it in big batches. Like I'm not like necessarily one of those people who like a song gets done musically and then I write the lyrics for it right away. Like I'll kind of sit with stuff and do it in chunks, and all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, I just did like 5 songs in like a short period of time. But yeah, so we're writing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. At least you're writing, getting ready for when the world opens. As we're talking now, when it comes to the drums, how do you present that to the band? Like, do you just come with Do you wait for them to give you a riff, or do you just fuck here? You know?
Well, yeah, like right now, I'm not doing anything. Mark is doing like all the writing, and will send me stuff, and I'll just play at home to it. But in the past, whenever we would write, we'd usually just get together, and Mark and I would just be up in the jam space and jam, and just whatever kind of came to it would hold on to if it was awesome, and if not, it would go.
Yeah,
But
let
that's kind of how we
yeah.
did it. But yeah, usually like Mark will like present something. We'll have some like a riff or something, and yeah, sometimes though it will just happen. I always find too. Usually when we haven't jammed in a long time, it's like the first time back is usually pretty exciting, and we'll come up with something on the spot then.
Yeah, it's like super hard
Yeah.
to stay on like that first time back. We did jam like periodically through the pandemic. Like there was a time when we could kind of safely do that. And because we were bubbled together. So Mikey and Mark and I all live like 3 minutes from each other. And we were able to keep, kind of just our families bubbled together.
Yeah, your tight little circle, as I always call it, my little tight circle now, right?
Exactly. And like, so it was at that time we were able to kind of there was a short window that we did actually jam. And that's when, and some songs, were structured in a more traditional way that we would typically write. But it's been months, like it was months before we could do that. And then it's been months since we could do that. So,
yeah, so you only got that couple days, or what, the 2 weeks they allowed us to kind of do that, and then took it all away, right? But
there was some time in the summer, I feel like, when it was like safer, like kind of, or was it like kind of maybe towards fall, like when there was time when we could actually bubble safely. And then we, like in November, I think, was like done, and we haven't been able to do it since. So so it does make writing hard. That's like, I know that I know that there's a lot of bands that we're friends with that have gone through like really difficult times writing. I think from a lyrical standpoint, there's a lot to be inspired by and a lot to be moved to write about, depending on like where you stand. But it can also be really difficult to tap into emotional things when you're emotionally drained.
What I was saying earlier. Yeah, it's just fresh.
And then also bands that are struggling because they're not able to write in a way that's familiar or in a way that like just works for the type of, I'll say, magic they create. Every band has their own kind of magic that happens between the band members. And when you can't work in that way, it can be really difficult. And you can maybe write things that you're not happy with. And you're like, this doesn't feel like our band, right? So like you don't want to force things that. And so I do feel like there's been some of that with us where we start writing stuff where like I'll say Mark has started writing stuff or whatever. And then it's like, we'll play it together or like whatever. And it doesn't just feel maybe like what we would have wanted it to feel like had we written it together, kind of thing, So I think that there's definitely been struggles for every band, right? You just have to find.
I've noticed that large, especially talking. There's only been the one band really. They've never even met each other until they did the show. It was the first time they ever seen each other face to face. And No Skin, actually, they just put their album out. I was talking to the one guy and then got them on, and then that's when I found it. That's the first time they've ever met, and they just wrote the album. They just finished everything, Wow, I gather they're gamers, so they game together a lot, but they've never seen each other or anything like that until we came on the show, and that was kind of a reunion for uniting for them in a sense. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So that was.
Well, you kind of have a side thing that has kept you busy with like friends, like so. Mark has been kind of has like a pandemic project that he had been just messing around with, just like old musician friends of ours, like people that we've known for they're not old, but just like friends we've had.
I know
for
what
years.
you mean. Yeah.
And just like, throwing around riffs and seeing what comes out of it. And yeah, you guys have like, you've all never been in the same room together. And like many members, like there's several members who haven't met in person or anything.
Yeah, that's true. I have a side thing called Grail with the guy who mixed our last couple of records, and a friend of ours from a band called Indian Handcraft. And then another dude who I've never actually met in real life, but he's a very talented drummer. So we're, the pandemic does kind of lend itself to that sort of stuff, which is, I guess, a silver lining, a small one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it definitely saved me a lot of money because, as I said, I normally would go in person, so I'd be driving to Peterborough today. Tomorrow, I'd be flying to San Francisco because we have Cold Shoulder on the show, right?
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
So
Cool, man.
I didn't pay it. It's all like I work extra hours at work, all the overtime, just so I can afford to even do this, right? And this
Passion
actually having the lockdown and forcing me to figure out how to do it this way has actually saved me a lot of fucking money, to tell you the truth. Right?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the opposite for us because like we make our money from playing shows, so
I
we're having
know,
the
right?
opposite experience.
Hmm.
We're,
Now you guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying we're just spending money and figuring out like next steps to recording and stuff. So
Yeah. Now you guys have merch for sale, obviously. I'm pretty sure we have a link here. Brian
Thank
will
you.
bring it up, but tell us where we find your merch and stuff.
Well, yeah, we have a hub with pretty much all our links, which is at crossdog.ca. But we're selling our merch through Bandcamp because Bandcamp is such an awesome site that they have that available to the smallest band to the biggest band. You can sell your merch online without having to pay
yeah, it's just an
too
easy,
much out of pocket or anything.
It's an easy way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to our Bandcamp, which is just crossdog.bandcamp, it's on our website. Go to the
Yeah.
website.
Okay.
Yeah,
Follow
but
the link in the description, and it will bring you right to all your stuff. I think it's your
Yeah, it's
Spotify.
good.
It brings you to the Bandcamp one as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you can find our merch there. We've got all our albums, and we've got
We
obviously.
still have some T-shirts and stuff and long sleeves, I think, up there.
Yeah, we're trying to just kind of sell it off. So yeah, send us an email. Maybe you can get a deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, that's actually been pretty. Like, it's been pretty great to like be able to have sort of like that connection with people throughout this time too. We've been able, when people order stuff, we always like put in like a note to them, and like sometimes they'll like share it on social, and like we'll get
Yeah,
to see.
right.
And it's like it's so nice to see when somebody gets your record. Like you're still having that like moment of connection where like we are. Well, I especially am one of those people that like every time we play a show, I'm like, we all are. You'll find us at the merch table and like deep in conversation with people, and I miss that a lot. I like I was saying about the writing, like that's a really difficult thing for me. It's not necessarily fun, but getting the end result of like a song I love is obviously very, very worth
Mhm.
it. It just takes a lot of like getting through self-doubt and like, shit to get to
Yeah.
the end result. But then playing it live, that's where like I live. So not being able to do that and not being able to have those connections with people at the merch table afterwards or whatever fucking sucks. Like that's been the hardest part of the first like 8 months of this pandemic. That was like something that was like really, really difficult. And so yeah, when people buy merch online, it's like you get that moment to kind of make that connection. You send them a little like handwritten note.
Yeah.
They like
Hey.
like then being like, holy shit, this is awesome. And it's like this like moment.
No, that's pretty cool actually, because yeah, it's always nice when you go to any show that have the artist when you buy the merch. Now you're talking to the singer or the drummer's selling you your T-shirt and stuff, right? That's always
Yeah.
the best. I love that.
Yeah. And
I would never not do that.
Yeah, it's especially cool when like bigger bands still have that going on. Like I know one of the last shows before all of this happened that Tracy and I went to was we saw Idols in Toronto, and I mean Idols are a fairly popular band right now.
Mm-hmm.
And their bass player and their drummer were the guys working the merch table, and I just thought that was super cool.
Yeah, like in downtown Toronto when they're here from the UK and they're like working their table, and it's like it does. I don't know. Like I understand not wanting to run to the merch table after a set. Trust me, there's been days that I'm like after shows where I'm like I'm literally gonna barf everywhere because I've like overexerted myself in a 40-degree room or whatever, and I feel like
Oh
shit.
yeah.
Need a minute before I go talk to anybody. And so I get that, but I can't imagine ever being like, I don't know. I feel like you would lose so much from having that, like, not having that moment to like talk to people at the merch table. It's such a like. fucking awesome moments.
Singer from the Bronx too. When
Mhm.
we saw them, he was like, he went from stage to merch table, like,
Mhm.
and
Wow.
you know,
That's awesome.
they're a big enough band. They could obviously have someone working for them, but he wanted.
And they
to do
did,
it.
but he went and
Yeah.
he joined and like
Yeah.
and wanted to be there. It's
Yeah.
just I
Talk
get
to
that.
talk to everyone
cool.
who wanted to talk to him. You know, shook hands. It's I think that's great when bands can do that, and I think bands,
Mhm.
especially after all this is done, are going to want to do that a lot
Mhm.
more.
Oh
Yeah.
yes. When the floodgates open up and the bands come out, it's gonna be insane, man. It's gonna be hard to pick and choose
So,
where to go and who to see, because I imagine a lot of shows are gonna be overlapping for the most part,
Yeah.
depending.
It's an excellent point because I mean everyone's going to want to book, so it's going to be like, you know, every day of the week there's going to be a show. Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
be able to so many shows. Like it's I
Mhm.
think it is going to be it's going to be good for music. I think people really did. I've seen so many people online comment like I will never take for granted going like so many nights that like I was too tired to go out or I was like I'll see them next time or like I'm not really in the mood right now to go catch that show and like I'm guilty of it. Like I have worked in bars for years and played in bars for years and on my night off there were many nights off I didn't want to be in a bar.
Yeah.
Seeing a band that came to my town, like I'm guilty of it, and
Mhm.
I think that a lot of people feel like shit. Like what am I getting? Fucking tired, burnt out, and going to see a band play in my town right now.
Yeah.
No, right. So, who were some of your influences then? You guys are. I'm more of a heavy metal kind of guy, but when I seen you guys play live, it totally brought me into your punk scene and stuff. And then same with the Reddies, seeing them play. I've seen Die Sci-Fi play now. They're another good local band from around here, right? Who did you guys follow when you were growing up? Like who's why you got on that stage and started trying to do what we do?
Mm-hmm.
Mikey, take that one first.
As a kid, they've heard this a billion times, but it would have been like White Zombie and Rage Against the Machine, Nirvana at that point, and then it was Fu Manchu and Caius, Black Breath, Power Trip, shit, I don't know,
Yeah, like,
a lot of hip hop too, but yeah.
Yeah, like you described yourself as a metal guy, and I mean our band is very much lumped within like a punk scene, like you described, and I still think we consider ourselves a punk band for the most part, but we love metal too. Like a lot of the stuff.
Like it's just like we're surrounded with
it.
Oh, Slayer, you know what I mean? I recognize that anywhere.
I mean, we take influence just as much from metal as any other genre of music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We try to kind of steal from everything that's good. So if it's a metal band that has amazing riffs, we're gonna steal a little bit of that. If it's a jazz album that has a great feel, we're gonna steal from that. Hip hop phrasing and the vocals.
There's also a lot of hip hop in Mikey's like background, like that really comes through the drums, and so like I do feel like we while being lumped, like Mark said, in a more of a punk community. I mean, there's definitely, especially on our last record, a lot more of that like metal influence that does come through.
Yeah, the song "Scars" was one that got me. That was a little more heavier than you guys normally do, right? And then "American Dream," I think it was. That was another one that you can kind of hear the difference. "American Dream's" kind of more of that punk, and then with "Scars," that's more of that heavy, that driven vibe, right?
So the entire Hollow album kind of has a more varied kind of source of influences, I guess you could say. So I don't know how far you've gotten into that record, but we have a song on that
I've listened to the whole thing, bud, times.
Nice.
Actually, on my playlist, I share your music on my story all the time when it comes up, and I'm in the point where I can share that stuff.
Awesome. So. Thanks, dude.
So we had a moment on that album in the song "Glass of Blood," where Mikey and we wrote it like musically in his basement. And I think I'm kind of speaking for you, Mikey, but we had a moment almost where it was like is this too metal? Because there's like, I mean, there's a full blown double kick like Slayer part, and like, you know, it's very heavily influenced by like thrash, whatever. But I don't think we're in the business of limiting ourselves, so we decided to just, you know, go with it. And to me, it's one of my favorite songs.
Aside from the fact that we limit ourselves entirely by the fact that there's only 4 strings in our whole band, so like.
That's true. That there's enough limitation with the instruments, so we might as well just steal from everything.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good way to do it, man. Especially if you listen to everything as well. It's it gives you that unique design and that unique feel when you guys play that song and we hear that album, you know.
Well, like there is like all of those bands that Mikey referenced, like they could easily slot in with any of us. We have I think all of us, probably Mikey and I the most, have very, very diverse musical tastes. Mark does too, but his tends to be like very diverse within like dirty, heavy, like noisy shit. Like, you know, he's not gonna appreciate necessarily like a Billie Eilish song, where I will. Mikey maybe not as well, but
Chet Baker.
But Mikey and I definitely cross, like, we both, like, love music. Good music is good music of any genre.
I've always said that as well.
Yeah,
right?
Mark's
Like, good.
that are super, you know, like, good music, but, like, really heavy and noisy, mostly.
Yeah.
But you love jazz and, like, stuff like that, too.
Yeah,
so.
it's I don't know. I think that's what makes any band kind of unique. If every member of the band had the same favorite band, they would just sound like
sound like that band.
Right,
So it's nice to have different influences amongst the band, and I don't know. It feels. I mean, we've never been in a place where someone's telling us like, you guys need to stop playing that and do more of this. You know what I mean? I mean, other bands get to that point. I don't know if we'll ever want to be there, but we have fun just experimenting with kind of everything.
So, are you guys an independent artist then, or are you guys on a label?
We are fortunate in that we have a little record deal with a label called Uncle D Records out of Ottawa.
It's like a manufacturing deal, so
it's essentially, there's a record store in Ottawa called Vertigo Records, and the owner of that store created a label to help bands that he I guess is a fan of. And so we got to meet him years ago, probably our first or second year as a band, just by playing a show in Ottawa, and he offered to put out a record for us. So he put out Vigilante. It's just a small run, a really small run, but
200 records or something like that.
But it allowed us to, because of the deal we made with him, we had records to sell on the road that we didn't have to pay to manufacture, and he distributed them and sold them out of his own store. So that was the deal for Vigilante. And then when we recorded Hollow, we weren't sure if we were gonna have that same opportunity. But we reached out to him, and he put that one out as well. So, I mean, we are backed by a label. It's just, you know, it's a little it's a little label, and it's a very like handshake kind of deal. And he's been really awesome to us, and we love him. His name is Darren Tomlin. If you're ever in Ottawa, if anyone's listening, when you can, go to Vertigo Records. Otherwise, check them out online, order shit. He's an awesome person, and he's been great to us. So support him all you can.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, no, we're not like signed in a traditional. So many bands are like, you know, there's so many imprints and small DIY kind of labels that are doing similar things, I guess, to that, and we're really lucky to have that help. There's, you know, there's been lots of things kind of that have come down the line, and, you know, kind of seemed like they were going to go different ways, different opportunities. We've been approached by labels, some big or pretty big, and haven't worked out thus far. the pandemic really fucked us in wanting.
Remember, I was speaking about that momentum earlier. That was part of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that build up was coming. You were on that snowball effect in that sense.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys,
So
when you were on your last tour, when you guys played with the Ruddies, Ship of Fools, and that, was that a tour or was that just one thing?
That was a one-off.
yeah, we were just playing.
Yeah,
shows.
Ship of Fools are buddies of ours, and they asked us to play that holiday show with them. So of course we said
Okay.
yes. Never played
Yeah.
Newmarket.
I knew it was sort of like a birthday thing or some kind of, there was a reason for that show.
It was like, I think there was like a holiday party. Like it was their
Yeah.
like holiday show. I
Yeah,
think.
it was-
like
it
they
was,
wanted to throw like a holiday.
It was their like Christmas celebration or whatever. Like
Yeah.
it was just a
Yeah.
you know that time of year kind of thing. And yeah, like those dudes are amazing friends and an amazing band, and they just put out a wicked EP as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and yeah,
Look
so
that out.
so yeah, that wasn't a tour, but that's one of the nice things about being in Ontario is that you can do these kind of one-off weekenders, which is what we were doing a lot before the pandemic hit, because you can't, you know what I mean? So yeah, it wasn't a tour, but it was just a really fun show.
Even just heading to Montreal and Ottawa for a weekend is like no problem, right? Like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, you guys are even closer than I am. Like you guys, what, about 5 hours from where you are? Maybe 6?
3.5 to Ottawa, 5 hours to Montreal. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not bad at all.
So it's like super easy for, we can kind of head both directions and cover a lot of territory in.
Yeah, right.
And then you're fighting in Ontario where like you're not getting necessarily like, unless you're, a super like press backed band, it's more difficult to pull on a Monday night or whatever, or a Sunday, like playing those shows in like wherever in Ontario. It's harder. Again, unless you're like coming from America, UK, and you're press backed, and like there's people who are going to go out and see you any night of the week at the Danforth. So it's great for us to do a lot of that when we're allowed to.
Yeah, soon, hopefully soon. Summer's coming, right? The vaccines are all rolling out. People are getting it done. So.
Yeah. Well, we just got another cancellation email from Pooza Fest.
Yeah,
we were
year 2 in a row.
We were supposed to play Pooza Fest last summer, and that was going to be awesome. Again, momentum, and that was obviously canceled. And they said, we'll see you in 2021. But then we just got an email like, nah, it's not happening. So hopefully 2022 we'll bring that back. And I'm sure that's a lot of festivals and stuff in Canada.
Yeah.
The same.
Well, I know once our stage is built, you guys will be more than welcome to play on it. I've already seen you live.
Awesome.
I know you guys crush it every time. So be looking forward to it.
Fighting with like my body after a fucking year of Netflix and working from home, but sure.
Yeah. It'll be like a Rocky movie. You'll have to run up the stairs and train and get ready.
Yeah,
you
totally.
are speaking my language, man. Like Rocky. That's my
Right.
Gracie and I just watched Rocky 1 through Rocky 4.
We made it through 4.
Yeah.
I had never seen Rocky. I don't know how I went so long without seeing Rocky. I am officially a huge fan of Rocky. I've told everybody that they have to watch it. It's so good. I'm ready to watch it again.
Oh, as a kid, that's why I got into boxing. I watched Rocky and Rambo and all that, and then as a teenager, it was like, I'm gonna be Rocky, baby. So you start training at your local clubs and stuff, and it was awesome. And as a teenager, it kept me out of a lot of shit I probably could have got in, right? But
you know what? Watching it now as an adult, because when I watched it for the first time, I was a kid as well. But watching it as an adult, it is really refreshing to see that him, like Rocky Balboa, the character as a role model, still holds up.
Yeah,
I was
does.
Yeah.
I was watching it and I was expecting it to be super like macho, like misogynistic, like, really, I don't know, just like because of the time especially, but also because of the character. He's like emotional and sensitive, and like I was I was stunned. I was like, I'm into Rocky.
Yeah,
Here
the
for it.
story is phenomenal.
I've never
And
seen
Sylvester wrote all that, directed it. No, you've never seen it?
No.
Look at all the movies behind
All
you.
of this. I know.
I know.
Look
Crazy.
at your
That's
kingdom
crazy.
behind you.
Don't know what to say.
Well, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, but it's gonna be. I'm gonna
Nice,
hunt down
sweet.
some VHS
Sweet.
Rocky movies, find them
I
for
mean-
I'll
you.
take them.
You
I'll
know I
take 'em.
will.
Mm.
Yeah, Rocky. I'm glad
Pretty
you brought
funny.
up Rocky. It's like my new favorite talking point, so I'm really glad.
No,
that
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my colleagues
movie-
are like, you need to stop talking about Rocky. Never. All the time.
Oh, I know. My favorite was when he fought Dolph Lundgren, man. That was what, number 4, I believe?
That was for it. That's the last one we watched, and
Yeah.
it's good, but it's very 80s.
Oh, it's so.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
just screaming 80s. Like everything from the technology, the soundtrack. It is very
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
They had a robot in that one, was it?
Yeah.
Was that
Exactly.
the Yeah. That's right.
Oh man.
He fights a robot?
What other movies you guys watch then, man? Like, what, you guys into like science fiction and all that shit, or?
Mikey's a
For
big
sure.
fan of several movies. You know what, Mikey? Mikey, take that question.
Like,
I'll take that one.
be
Yeah,
back.
I mean,
Yeah.
for as far as sci-fi, like The Thing is like one of my favorites. Horror sci-fi.
That
Um,
100%.
that was I got that on VHS, and that was like one of the best days ever. But yeah, man, I mean, I do like a lot of horror movies. I'm all over the place these days. A lot of documentaries, I guess. A lot of YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watch a
Yeah.
fair amount
watch-
of documentaries
yeah,
myself.
Yeah, I watched Tombstone recently. That was awesome.
Oh, that's a good one. Old Western.
Yeah, old Western. Yeah.
My old man and I, we used
Sure.
to sit down. He was a huge fan of the spaghetti westerns like D-Land Cleef and Clint Eastwood from back in the day, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Nice.
I know
That's awesome.
every one of those movies now.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
once the world does break open, how are you guys planning on breaking out of the gates? Are you gonna just throw out an EP, 1 or 2, and slowly release and see where it goes, or you gonna come right out just smashing it?
Well, time will tell. We are
Mhm.
in the process of, so with all that talk of where we're at writing wise, we're actually going into the studio pretty soon to start demoing some stuff.
Nice.
With Scott Middleton from
Middleton.
Cancer Cats. So he's producing some songs for us, and we're going to so we got some grant money to help us with that, which is great. And then I guess we're just gonna we have some plans for what we're gonna do with those songs and see kind of where that leads in terms of us doing another full length or even just like an EP. We're not really sure what will come. And again, that really kind of depends on, since the pandemic started, we've acquired like management. Like we have had some good things happen in this time. We were approached by someone who is now our manager, who's really experienced in the music industry, and he's amazing. His name's Alex, and he's amazing. He's helped us get some grant money, and now like working with Scott, that's also like we have like such a really, really great chemistry with him. And so that's, I don't know, we'll just kind of see. We have some plans, and we're like, this might happen. Maybe we'll try doing this. Like we're talking, we're planning, but some of it's just going to take like getting some tracks done to then do something with them.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
I know everyone here is looking forward to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'm a
just-
huge fan, right?
I'm just so excited to play.
Mm.
And also, I think we all kind of feel like we didn't get to give Hollow like a really good chance. And like you were saying that you've listened to the whole album, and like that was how it was written. It was written to be an album. Like in a day of like singles, we hoped that people would want to listen to it all the way through. the song that means probably the most to me is the last song on the record. And I know that, people don't listen to full records anymore. And like,
No.
we kind of wrote it with the inspiration, like to go back to what kind of influences us. Like, I know in my mind, I was thinking about like what I felt when I first heard Refuse, The Shape of Punk to Come. And that is an album. Like, that is an album that like you listen to from front to end. It has like, or front to back, it has like interludes and like interesting pieces. And we, not to say that this in any way can like hold a candle to that album. It of course cannot, because that's like in my mind, and in many people's mind. But we had, an analog synth, modular synth player come in that we know from Toronto. Josh Karodi, he owns a studio in Toronto. What's Candle Studio. I was going to say Candlelight. It's not that remote. Candle recording.
Yeah.
Studio in Toronto, and he's also like a modular synth musician in his own right. And yeah, like we just wanted to like really play around with sound and create a full album. And it just sucks because like basically that album came out mid to end summer of 2020, and then we had these things coming up.
2019. Yeah, I was gonna say it would be 2019, but yeah,
2020 is the year that so yes,
the year that never happened.
Yes, and then that was the time when like that album got some interest from some people that whatever, it doesn't matter, but then it all shut down. So
making waves, right?
I want to make that album again, like even just that like excites me.
Yeah. We didn't unfortunately have a fair shake of touring it. Like we even have we have a new van. Like we replaced our van. We replaced our van right before all of this happened.
Yeah, at the very end of 2020, we got a new 12-seater to tour in.
So we got a big van. And it's so we had all these plans, the new album, the new van. We had lots of stuff in the works, and then it all just kind of it got delayed. So that's where we're at. But like Tracy was saying, Hollow didn't get the shake that we hoped it would get. But yeah, we hope people still want to listen to it.
Yeah, I'm still sharing it up. Like when I do up my sharing music day, I'll share up everything I listen to, and then lately I've been putting together a Boneyard list on my thing, and it's all the bands that we've had on the show so far, and the best songs that I think from that band, and then I'll be kind of showing that to the world. Here's my playlist, fucking listen away, right? And so
very cool.
So what are some of the local bands in your area? Like, I already know them, but is there like some bands you guys just love playing with that people should also be knowing about? Or
we need to mention Garbage Face.
Back. Sorry. Yes, Carl.
Yeah. Yep, no problem.
So our friend Garbage Face, Carl, he's an MC. He's a
doom rapper.
Unique character. His genre is doom rap, and it's amazing. And we played with him a few different times, and it's always fun. He's just a really good friend of ours, and his music is amazing. It's thoughtful. His politics are good. He's a
very creative, inspiring person, and just like a really good person, like just a really, really good person. And he does, the show that he puts on is like so unique to him. He doesn't do it like I don't know. I don't follow necessarily rap, and so maybe I'm sure there's other people who do like their solo kind of like vibe, but what he does, and it feels very punk rock to me in its like integrity. Like it's very I don't know, in your face. It's very in your face.
Yeah. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah,
he's amazing. It's unique. It's 100% his own thing, and that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah.
Another band that I really like I think all of us like from town is called Beef Boys.
I hate them.
Beef Boys to me is a super underrated punk band here in Peterborough. They're just, they're just amazing, hard-hitting, like classic sounding fucking dirty punk rock, and I love it. And they're, again, just nice people. We just like playing with nice people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny, you get on stage and you see this personality you're picturing, they're wearing makeup, shooting flames out of the fucking stage and shit. And then you sit down and talk to them afterwards and they're the quietest, nicest people you ever meet, right? It's weird. It's almost...
That's refreshing because it can go the other way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we're obviously not going to talk shit or name names, but it can go the other way.
Oh, yes, there are.
That is a really huge compliment. I've had people come up to me and say that they thought I was going to be really scary and mean, and they're pleasantly surprised to find that I'm not. And I think that is such a huge compliment. Like when somebody meets me after like seeing my like stage, not my stage persona, it's not a persona, it's me being like really channeled into the fucking, anger that I feel about the things that I'm singing about and the adrenaline and all that. It's like genuine, but I understand what they're saying, that it could be intimidating or intense.
Yeah.
And then I'm not that way. That way in my life all the time.
No, it's true though. Like it's almost like our therapy when you get onto that stage.
Yes.
You just get all, whether it's the anger out, maybe you fucking feeling sad, so you play some quieter, sadder songs and you just get it out there, right?
Oh, 100%. Like that. And that's like, how I was kind of saying at the beginning of this pandemic when it was like, the first 8 months not being able to play shows, that's a real struggle. And I've talked to some of my friends. Hey, he's back.
There we are, baby. Yeah.
Hello. I don't know.
That's all right.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I've talked to some,
I think,
who are, either like just musicians, just friends who are touring a lot and that sort of thing. And that's been one, especially people who are like vocalists that I've spoken with, struggle with that part of their identity not really being there because that's their voice. Like it's literally using your voice to connect with people, and then when you have that taken away, it's like a pretty, not only are you not getting that like mental health part that we all experience from like just going out, like it's like when you go to the gym and you work out super fucking hard, that adrenaline, like it's good for your mental health, right? It's the same idea when you play a show, like sweating, you're working it out, you're getting the endorphins, it's like a big rush, and not having that has an impact on your mental health. Being a vocalist and not being able to use your voice to connect with people, that has an impact on like where you sit in the world and how your identity is kind of like, who am I now? Like, like that's kind of how it feels, right?
Mm-hmm. Almost lost in that sense right now. The lost in the fog that's become the world at the moment, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean and I think it's important to talk about that stuff because, in talking to fellow creatives, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people who have felt that way, and I think that that's not just creatives. I think that everybody has their own version of that they've been experiencing. And talking about that, I mean, even though not everybody feels comfortable talking about it, when they hear someone talk about it, it might make them feel a little less alone.
I know it's like that taboo conversation that nobody seems to want to have at the moment, but it's almost, as we were talked about earlier, it's almost too fresh for them to even talk about, or even they haven't processed everything that has happened or that is happening, right?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's much easier to look back.
Yeah, and people will like look back and be like, oh my God, that was such a fucking rough time. Like, that like 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever, people will look back and be able to kind of like lightheartedly like talk about how much they were struggling. But right now they're like, it's hard for a lot of people, right?
Now we've all kind of brushed on the vaccines and stuff. You guys were talking about that a bit earlier, reassuring me because I'm one of those people that I'm on the fence at the moment, but I know eventually I am going to get it just so I can travel and continue doing my job the way I prefer to do it. You guys didn't have any problems or anything, eh? You were saying.
Well, I'm the only one in the band so far who's had a shot. Just because I was fortunate. Well, I mean, through this whole thing, I've been fortunate enough to actually have a job that's on the front lines. So I've been very, very lucky to be employed throughout this whole thing, and not trying to rely on government assistance, which is hardly there.
I was.
Right
at the beginning.
So, but anyways, as a result of working in the field that I work, I was able to get my first shot of the Pfizer vaccine, and I mean, the science. We need to trust the science. We need to understand that these vaccines weren't created for a purpose that doesn't make sense.
Like a sinister.
Mhm.
It doesn't. Everyone needs to use common sense around this. You know,
Well, I think also people need to maybe, and maybe this is just me coming from like, because I have a background in science. I have a double major in biology and environmental science, and
Oh,
that's
wow.
not like anything. It's just that I know like I've gone through a period of not really understanding how science works, like where it's like a mythical thing that I don't understand how
Yeah.
research. I don't understand because I wasn't exposed to it. But then I was exposed to it, and I started to understand more about like how these things actually take place behind the scenes and the rigorous like scrutiny that studies, especially of this kind of caliber, go under. And so I think that helps me to like trust things, but then I can fully
Mhm.
acknowledge that the like somebody who doesn't have a background in science would never, or even a lot of people who do have a background in science, but just
They're in a
don't.
different field in science, you know.
Yeah,
There's
they're
so
not
many
like.
different avenues to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But those like, why would you ever know that? And so I think that there's it's okay for people to say, I don't really know what's going on here. I don't understand vaccine science, because why the fuck would you? It's not your job.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
The average person doesn't fucking know that. So I do think that like there's been a disservice in the media and stuff done to the people by not explaining enough, communicating science to people so
Mhm.
that they can understand the safety and the rigor that goes into these studies, because I think people would feel a lot more confident if they actually like had a better window into what's
Yeah,
happening.
education is definitely key, especially when it comes to something like this. There's so much disinformation, especially being in
Right.
the internet age that we are. You could find shit that'll take you all of a sudden Corona's fucking from space and it's the aliens trying to lizard people and shit, right? Like
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like that's no fault of people to like not know how to
no.
feel about vaccine, you know, like, or whatever it is, because it does and there's a lot of reason to question the government, to question the things around you. I think that's wise to question things, but I also think it's wise to like say when maybe it's not your arena to be the expert on something and to
Mhm.
have to learn more about stuff or whatever. So so I guess that's my soapbox rant about.
Yeah. Well, I know a few people now that have the vaccine. A friend of mine in San Francisco just got her second shot just so she can start. She does like sideshows, sword swallowing, fire breathing, and all that, right?
Oh,
And
wow.
she'll be on the show soon. We're just working the date out. So, and
Nice.
then, yes, and she, as she said, she just got her arm. Everything was fine. She
Yeah.
didn't, bit of sweats that night or whatever because that's just your body reacting to it. It's normal, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, for
My friend Greg said something that stuck with me. He's because so the Grail band I was talking about earlier, Greg, the guitar player, we're in a group chat talking about the vaccine, and the drummer for that band just got the vaccination and ended up with like pretty unpleasant side effects.
mhm.
And the way Greg worded it, I thought was awesome. He said, "That's all right, man. Your body is building weapons to fight it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And that's why
Well,
you feel
Yeah.
your body's
I
weapons." And yeah.
go ahead, Mark. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying that.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, Mikey,
Mikey,
yeah.
Mikey, yeah.
oh,
Go ahead.
Mike.
I
Sorry,
was
man.
no. I was just stretching my
Everyone's name
back
there.
out. I was getting a closer look. That's all.
Oh.
All
Yeah.
good. Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt.
I know. Looked like you had something
No.
intense you had to say there.
No,
You jumped.
definitely not. I was agreeing with Mark.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just like, I'm so ready for like just, you know, everyone to just be able to resume something that feels a little bit more connected to the outside world, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm just lucky I'm able to do this way and still bring people to bands. Like, it's got to be hard for you guys, any band really at this point. Like, how do you get yourself out there? Like, how many podcasts can you really do? You know, like,
It's true. I don't know if you're. I know you're a metal guy. Are you familiar with the band The Hives from Sweden?
yes. Yep.
So The Hives did something I thought was so cool, and I hope every band rips them off in this idea. The Hives did what was called, they called it the world, what the fuck was it? World Wide Web World Tour. That was it. And they sold like online tickets for several cities around the world. Like I think there was a
like
place
London,
in Australia.
Yeah.
Anyways, and what they did is they played in like a studio setting, and they had fake crowd noises. And I mean, they're kind of
like a telethon.
Yeah, they're kind of a silly band.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that, right. Yeah. But it was so cool because for each night of the tour, each city was like the featured city. So you would, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain.
So basically, like, not any band could do this. So you're like, I wish every band would rip them off, but like, you have to have the charisma of the fucking Hives, man.
I mean,
like,
they're one of the best.
True.
Yeah, but that's what that's what they had to do, because that's how they, their bread and butter is touring.
Yeah.
And if you can't tour, you got to come up with something. So like, the live streaming shows that bands are doing, like these are the things that I hope people are responding to, because they need to realize like, you don't respond to this, if you don't pay money for this, if you don't pay attention to this, then you're not going to get the live shows you want to see later.
Yeah, that's
right. No, right? Yeah. Actually, band we just had on the show out of Montreal, Dead Man's Prophecy, they've just made it to the finals on a thing out of Montreal where people are watching their live show, and then they're voting on it, and then the next band, they move on and on and on, right? So,
cool.
And they actually just did a live show. It was them, and then Last Dance Amongst Wolves did their set, and then they did a Korn tribute afterwards, which I was able to catch the tail end. It was actually pretty good, man. It was nice to see something,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was the band Mets. I don't know if you are familiar with Mets, but I'm a huge Mets fan. Mark's a huge Mets fan. And where are they from? They're from Ottawa?
No, well, Toronto. They're based in Toronto.
But weren't they originally from Ottawa?
Two guys are from Ottawa, bass player from Toronto.
Anyway, but they they're like signed to Sub Pop, like they've been, are they still?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, they're fucking so amazing. And when their most recent record came out this year, they did a live stream event that was like
at the Opera House.
At the Opera House, but it was like as close to feeling like you were at a live show as you could kind of get. Like it was, they had it obviously wasn't like live. They had like camera crews do it, and it was like, but it was cool because it was like a proper presentation of this album. And I was like, you know what? Fuck yeah. Like if I'm not normally going to get to see an album, a new released album played beginning to end, like that's not usually what bands do when they put out a record. We've done it.
Yeah, but
it was the best idea, but we did. What album was that? Hollow? Did we do that? Yeah, we did it with Hollow. When we released our album, we played it cover to cover live, which is great for us, but it's not necessarily the set flow that you're necessarily after. But anyway,
listen, man, people were there. People paid. People gave us their money.
That's good. That's excellent.
Really great.
I think we have
that was the
we have a link here that will allow people to give you more money once Brandon pops it up there.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem, man.
While we're talking about this too, like people like yourself who are giving bands the opportunity to sort of be online and promote themselves, that means a lot, because
it really does. It's all we can do.
We tour, we can't play shows, and this is one of the only ways that we can really, the internet is one of the only ways that we can really get to people. So thank you.
Yeah, totally.
It does mean.
Oh no, it's an honor to have you guys on. Since I seen you guys live, I've refer to you guys as our local scene, as one of our top bands coming out, right? There's you guys. We have In Vale coming out of Toronto. One in the Chamber, we just had them on the show out of Toronto as well. They're an amazing band. It's when I came back to Ontario, that's one of my main reasons for staying is the music scene here. You can find music from any genre you want, whether it's metal or industrial, your punk, or you can find that band that does it all. It's pretty amazing here as far as the music scene was, and kind of still is. Like these bands are still doing stuff. So.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ontario is a very cool place to start a band, because you can play cities that are so close together. You know, your drives aren't 4 hours, 5 hours apart. So and I mean also too, we've made so many friends because there's so many good bands in Ontario that we've had the pleasure of playing with, and we've made a lot of friends. Probably some of the best friends that I've ever had came from Ontario bands.
Yeah, that's the best. Like, we do get like kind of sometimes lumped in with like particular bands because we are such a band that wants to play with our friends all the time. Like, we want to have inside jokes, the like ridiculous good times with friend bands, like our buddy bands. That's like what we love to do, even if our music isn't necessarily like super lined up in the same genre, you know. But like, we have friends in different, but we're all kind of like in the same place in our careers, I guess, like similar, you know, coming up together in our community. And so we do get like kind of lumped in together with certain bands all the time. And like, while acoustically maybe it doesn't always make that much sense, like it's just because we always want to play shows with them because it's so much fucking fun. And then we end up having so much crossover in our fan base, right? So like somebody who likes Cross Dog can also like whoever, right? Like that. This like a that we are friends with.
Well, it makes for a better show too, in all the bands. You know, you don't have that animosity between the bands backstage or with the fans. You can really see it on stage when you're on stage, but the other band, the lead singer, say comes up, or the guitar player, you guys rip off a song. That just adds to the performance. It's so much better.
Yeah, totally. Like, we've had so many like fun times just playing shows with our friends.
We've played a bunch of shows with B.A. Johnson. Are you familiar with B.A. Johnson?
Maybe. I'm not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, he's essentially it's hard to put into words.
I hope you describe right now as something that is offensive, but he would laugh at. So
old fast food.
Old fast food.
If you amplified McDonald's cheeseburger wrappers, if you put a microphone in front of
exactly,
and crinkled them, that's the music that B.A. Johnson plays. Anyways,
he's a Canadian darling. Like, he is a hard fucking working
real performer.
Guy. Performer. Like, hilarious. He's so funny. He's got this like cult following, a fucking cult following. He's so entertaining, but like the farthest end of the spectrum, and he like supports local scenes like hard,
big time.
So TJ, at the end of this, you need to look up B.A. Johnson. He's from Hamilton.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, it's we can't put it into words.
I'll find out. I'll go down the rabbit hole and do some research and
it's comedy.
Reach out to him.
It's kind of like he's kind of like a modern Stomping Tom. Because
that's awesome.
Well, he doesn't sound like
Tom was a legend, especially here in Canada.
He doesn't sound like Stomping Tom, but he's the Canadian institution that Stomping Tom was.
Yeah.
So he's it's important that you look him up.
I agree.
I'll be on that tonight. Then, for
we
sure.
played
I'll
with
do my
him
homework.
And once you see him, we played with him many times. He is a great person. Christian is his real name. He's a great person. We have driven him home after playing a show with him to his mom's house where he and we stopped at McDonald's.
Forgot about that.
Actually, gave us directions to the nearest McDonald's because of course he did. And he's the best. He's the best.
Amazing.
I'll definitely get on that then. That's my homework for tonight.
For us playing the same show. Just
Awesome. Is there anything else we should know about the band, about you guys, and what's happening? And
we're I don't know. It's hard.
I hear you. It's kind of a dumb question, I know, right?
It's hard to get self-indulgent right now because every band in our position is just grasping at straws, trying to make the most of this situation and trying to stay alive. We are lucky that, you know, Tracy and I are married. We live together. And so, and then Mikey's our neighbor. So like we aren't far, you know, we don't have to jump, you know, huge hurdles in order to get our band kind of back to where we were.
Mhm.
Whereas there's other bands we're friends with who are like, you know, they're not even living in the same city. And
we also have our own jam space.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's true. We don't have to pay, you know, for the rehearsal factory or whatever, which can't even open right now. So, anyways, it's hard to get.
Yeah, we are in a good place compared to lots of our friends.
Yeah. So it's hard to get self-indulgent, but I mean, we're working hard just like all the other bands right now. I hope, and we're gonna have some creative stuff to show from all this once it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that you guys are still working on stuff, and and
I'm gonna hug
presenting
everybody so much. I'm gonna be, as soon as we're playing, you won't be able to keep me on stage. I'm going to be like so aggressively in everyone's face that nobody's gonna like it. I'm gonna have a great time.
I'm actually, before we go, I'm gonna pull up a photo and send it over to Brent here, and I'll upload it to Rescream here. This is from your guys' last show you played, and it will be my last show that I've seen. So just give me a sec.
Sure.
It's one of my favorite photos I've taken as well.
Cool.
So
all right.
let me see.
Oh,
here.
cool.
Happy to go down memory lane.
Yeah.
So much.
That was a fun little room to play. One of my favorite things is to pile all of my gear into one room and make it so loud in that little room that everyone is uncomfortable.
Let me see if I can do this one.
Especially me.
Yeah, especially Mike.
Yeah, right.
I think there was like one show that I think that was like pretty unbearable. Where was it? It might have been in Toronto with Indian Handcrafts, but it might have been Danger Blades. And you guys had everything right behind me. Yeah, that was it. And I remember when we started, I like, dude, I can't hear at all.
Yeah, I think I fell
killing me. I couldn't even hear my drums. Like it was like that loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you can't hear your snare, I guess it's probably
yeah, cymbal too. Like
that's got to be one of the loudest show you guys have played then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't even hear your drums, like that's pretty loud, man.
We're an obnoxiously loud band, but that's just compensating for the fact that it's just, you know, just a bass and drums and vocals. So we gotta gotta be loud.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say because we have small penises.
Well.
But yeah, you know, fuck the singer. Who cares if she can hear anything? It's fine.
Drive. My drive.
Oh, I just want to be loud.
Yeah. You know what? Now that we're talking,
I hear you.
I even miss all the grumpy sound people that we've worked with. All the live sound working ponytail having fucking grumpy. Oh, I would love to see those people right now.
Yeah, true, right?
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, I saved it, but I don't know where I saved it. I'll send it over to you. I'll send it through the messenger. You guys will at least get to see it and shit.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I guess we'll wrap it up for tonight. Fuck, we've been blabbing over an hour now. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on, man. You guys are honestly one of my favorite local bands in the area. So I've
thanks, man.
As you know, I've been bugging you for a while to come on the show, and we finally hashed out the date. So
hey, man, thank you. We appreciate the notice because we had so much notice. It was like we can't bail on this dude because he gave us so much notice.
Oh, I'm 3 months from now. I'm busy.
Yeah, right. Like,
it
worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like it's just been so nice to chat with you. It's been a very easy, nice hangout. So
I try to keep pretty chilled, you know. I don't like people ask what questions you gonna ask. I said I never fucking know, man. It all depends on where we go with the conversation, right? So
sure.
But yeah, thank you again so much. Play a loud, play Hey,
Our
people,
pleasure.
might as well take us off the air, Brandon, and I'll hold you backstage for a little bit before I let you guys go, and then
Perfect.
shoot
Cool.